All right, good morning, everybody. If you are trying to view RFP, I see a mistake. It should say 2021-04, Accounting Services Bidders Conference. Today, you're in the right spot. So I am going to go ahead and get started and go over the agenda first. Let's see. So the agenda today, this shouldn't take the whole time, but we'll see how it goes. We're going to go over the meeting technical details first. Then we'll do some introductions and give an overview of the Children's Trust of Alachua County. The third thing we'll do is we will go through the RFP, and at the very end, we will take some, we'll go through the question and answer process. So the technical details for the meeting today is that this is a webinar format, and it's being recorded. So you'll be able to view the recording afterwards. It'll be posted on our website, and the PowerPoint will be made available as well. And we'll put it on the bids, the RFP bid section of our website. Your microphone has been muted and will remain so for the duration of the webinar. I'll give this caveat, since it doesn't look like we're going to have, tens and tens of people. We may be able to take some verbal questions at the end. However, we're going to be posting written responses to all the questions, and those will be the official responses. Of course, you can ask additional questions after that. You can email those to procurement@childrenstrustofalachuacounty.us. And you can also post questions in the chat. However, as I said before, only the written responses posted on the website are the official responses. And as I said before, the answers will be posted on the website under the RFP opportunity. And I would check there every so often to see new responses posted as we get questions and answer them. So, all right. So introductions. I will start by introducing myself. I'm Colin Murphy. I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Trust of Alachua County. And below me is Nicole. So Nicole, would you introduce yourself?
My name is Nicole Odom. I am the fiscal assistant for the trust.
And then Todd.
Good afternoon, Todd Hutchison. I am the finance director for the Alachua County Clerk of the Court and currently serve through an interlocal agreement providing accounting services to the trust.
And so that is us. And for an overview of the trust, if you're not familiar with our website, it is www.childrenstrustofalachuacounty.us. And the Children's Trust is an independent special district in accordance with section 125.901 of the Florida statutes, as well as a local county ordinance, which is 18-08. And codified, and I think it's chapter 26 of the county ordinance code. And we have all the powers and duties listed on the slide. So basically, we were approved by the voters back in 2018. We levy an ad valorem tax up to $500,000, primarily to provide children's services for children ages 0 to 18. So we are governed by a board, 5 of which are members who are on there by law, and then the other 5 that are appointed by the governor. And again, our primary sources of revenue are ad valorem taxes. However, we do occasionally get grants or other intergovernmental funds, maybe Medicaid or some Title IV waiver money or something like that, depending on the services that we provide. So we're essentially an independent political governmental body here right within Alachua County. And currently, as Todd said, we have an interlocal agreement with the clerk of the circuit court to provide our CFO and accounting services. We've listed them all here, but Todd, maybe you could describe a little bit more what you do for us right now and how things work.
Sure. Thanks, Colin. So the clerk serves the same role for the Children's Trust that we do for the Board of County Commissioners and the Alachua County Library District, which is also another independent special district in Alachua County. So part of that role involves everything from annual financial state reporting, overseeing the audit process, as well as just day-to-day accounting on the back end. As an independent tax district, Colin's already mentioned that the primary revenue source is ad valorem taxes. And of course, those go through the Alachua County Tax Collector's Office, no different than for the Board of County Commissioners or Library District. We have already relationships set up with the Tax Collector's Office to receive those tax distributions electronically on a twice per month basis. So for the trust, that's the primary form of cash receipts and revenue collections. There's not a whole lot of accounts receivable activity right now, but we certainly do that. And to the extent they get awarded grants and have drawdowns for grants, be it private or public grants, then we currently oversee that process for them and revenue recognition accordingly. We do handle their investment portfolio program. So to give you an idea, the trust currently has a little over $11 million in accumulated fund balance and investments. And we oversee that program for them pursuant to an investment statement policy that the Children's Trust Board has adopted. It's pretty much in line with Florida statutes and the same similar policies that most local governments follow. To the extent we wind up having any, again, federal or state grants, we would oversee the single audit portion of their annual audit process. Accounts payable, we oversee that. We currently sort of have a weekly distribution for accounts payable where we cut checks for the trust once per week. 2020 was sort of the first full year of operations for the trust. And there was around 200 or so payments in that first year. And of course, as we get into this second year, there'll be more. In the first year, there weren't really too many fixed assets, but that's something we oversee for them as well, to the extent they have things that meet the state's requirement to be capitalized. Same goes for surplus property. Again, financial reporting is something we do for them as well, both annual and quarterly. And I already mentioned overseeing the annual audit process. And we will also coordinate and file with the Department of Financial Services a report called the Annual Comptroller's Report.
And could you also explain this section, Todd, how we do the checks?
Sure. So currently, both the statute that empowers this trust to be created, as well as the county ordinance that was passed by the Board of County Commissioners to create the trust, basically there's language in there that the only way to draw funds from the trust's bank accounts is by a warrant signed by a board member and another designated person from the board. So it could be the CEO, it could be another member of the board, et cetera. And so currently, through a resolution approved by the trust, we have all of the checks are basically approved to be signed digitally by a facsimile or by a laser printer. And then we go through an approval process whereby we get the board of the trust and the treasurer to then once per week approve that big batch of checks and ratify them before releasing them. So we're not, we don't, in the old days, you would have actually gone and taken a big old batch stack of physical checks and had someone sit there with a pen and sign them all with wet signature. We don't have to do that, but we are required currently to make payments by a physical check warrant. We are working with the attorney's office to try and get a slightly different interpretation of that to allow more ACH and EFT payments. But right now, outside of the authorized draw that we use from the third-party payroll service, they're the only ones that are authorized to receive funds to process payroll in the form of checks to employees. Every payment is done by a physical check and approved through an electronic approval process by the chair and treasurer.
And I'll cover some of this here. We actually use the New World system from Tyler Technologies, and we're set up as an environment in the Board of County Commissioners system. So we pay a portion of their fee. I think $87.50 a year is what we're currently paying. And it's a hosted solution. And so all of the general ledger activity has various modules for purchasing, cash receipts, accounts payable, fixed assets, miscellaneous billing. And then there's some modules we probably don't use. They have a budget module and some other things that we don't use, but I guess there's nothing stopping us on some of those if we choose so in the future. You do have the option for those of you that are going to submit a proposal to propose either having us continue to use the New World system, or if you have a system instead, you could propose that we use that. We do currently use a third-party payroll service, and we operate under the October 1 to September 30th fiscal year. And we also are required to use the Florida Uniform Chart of Accounts by law as well. Did I leave anything out there, Todd, we should cover, or is that pretty much?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, all right. Okay, the current staff, we have more staff than just 2 people, but the main staff that will be interacting with the accounting firm will be the executive director, that's me, and the fiscal assistant, who is Nicole. Those will be the primary people that the accounting firm will interact with. Day to day, it will be Nicole with transactions and things like that. And we'll both work on, if we need different types of reporting or a request from the board or anything else that'll come up, I'll be involved with that. Okay. The RFP timeline. So today, or excuse me, on the 23rd, which was Tuesday, the RFP was released, and the cone of silence period began. Today's the bidders conference on the 26th. And like I said, you can submit questions through the procurement email, but the last day to submit questions will be on April 6th. And we will post those answers on April 9th. The responses will be due on April 13th, and then we will go through a review period over the next 2 weeks and narrow the, depending on the number of proposals we get, we may narrow them down, but we'll do all that through a public meeting on the 30th. And then go into a the second part of the selection process, which will involve presentations with a final recommendation to be made or to be posted on June 7th, and then approved by the trust board on June 14th. We do have an appeals process if we need it, but we expect to immediately go into contract negotiations, and with the contract period beginning on July the 1st. And the idea is that the last 3 months of our fiscal year, July, August, and September, are used as a transition period where the firm will be able to work closely with myself and Nicole and the clerk's office to transition to go live by October 1st. So that is the timeline for this process. And, basically what we're looking for is a firm to perform accounting services. And, we're intending to award to the firm that best meets the qualifications. And, we encourage you to look over the model contract that's in the RFP, because we expect to use that substantially in its form. If you look at the RFP, if there's specific sections that, you wanted to comment on or give you pause or you object to, those would need to be included in your certification form or your cover letter. And but we do intend to pretty much award substantially in the form of that contract that's attached to this RFP. The initial term of the award will be for 15 months. So like I said, beginning in July of this year through September 30th of 2022, with 4 renewals. So for a total of, about 5 years before this contract would be reconsidered again. The minimum requirements to bid, at least at a minimum, demonstrate selected the following knowledge and skills and experience. You need to be a registered CPA firm with at least 5 years of providing similar services for a Florida special district, city, or county. So I think, that would include whatever you tell us, but, some of you have audited or may have performed similar type services for a different size organization. Just make sure you make that clear in your written proposal. Okay. In the scope of services is attachment 2 of the RFP, and it's found at the very back at the end of the model contract. So the first part involves a transition period where, we'll handle all of the purchasing, accounts payable, journal entries, developing the reporting that we'll need to meet our legal and board requirements. And then weekly, all of the following services here, and Todd mentioned several of these already that they're currently performing. But the AP, that would include all cash disbursements and receipts, making sure they're properly entered into the accounting system, whether it's New World or the contractors, preparing the AP and send the check reports and all of the reporting, report on the wire transfers. Most of that has to do with the payroll process, as Todd mentioned, and just record any other journal entries, any revenue received, prepare invoices and track receivables and allocate payroll. Again, monthly, I won't read all of these because this is all in the RFP, but there'll be some other items that are prepared monthly. We will go over with the firm some of the monthly reports that we're required to submit to our board and make sure that those are developed and can be generated. And then we also have some annual reports that are required as well as Todd mentioned. So again, this is all in attachment 2. And then of course, there's always that any other services as needed disclaimer as well. So, again, Todd mentioned all these services that are to be provided on behalf of the trust, but fixed assets, surplus property, helping us make sure that we are maintaining internal controls and maybe recommending some policies or procedures. And again, as I said, anything else that any other consultations that may be needed. We would expect, especially getting started, that we would have frequent face-to-face communication, either in person or via web conferencing, especially during the transition process, during our audits and end of year closeout or budgeting process, weekly phone check-ins during the rest of the year, which could change on an as-needed basis. As we get into the next year, we will probably want at least one session with our board on how to read some of the reports that they're given. A few board members have asked for that. And occasionally we may need attendance at our, we will require attendance at our monthly CTAC board meetings. And those can be attended either in person or virtually. So that pretty much covers the scope of services. The evaluation criteria, there's going to be 6 criteria. 5 of them are what we're going to call subjective, and 1 of them is more objective, that's price. So price is one of the factors, but not the only factor. The other 5 factors, which is the record of past performance, risk, financial stability, the project plan, and subcontracting, are all weighted. And we have, excuse me, didn't mean to flip there. We have tried to do the scoring such that it'll prevent any disparate scoring from throwing off the overall results. So, we're scoring on a 100-point scale for each category, but the minimum you can get on any category is a 70. And then we have a kind of a weighting factor for both the subjective and objective criterion to make sure the scoring comes out on a 100-point scale. If you want further detail on that, we'll be happy to answer in writing, but I think the formulas are pretty self-explanatory. I did want to go over the pricing form, though, just to make sure everybody is clear on what we're asking for on the pricing form. So the pricing form is Form 2. And in addition to filling out the pricing form, you can also include a narrative. I think it's up to 10 pages. I don't remember. There is a page limit, but we give you quite a bit of paging to explain your pricing and rationale. But what we're looking for is essentially the staff that you would assign to the project and the various projected units, which I assume are going to be hours, and the hourly cost of those people. And we're asking for a 5-year projection. So you can, we would ask that you put in all your costs. And if you intend to, have a yearly cost of living increase or something like that in your rates, we'd ask that you include those as well. But the top part of the form is what would be the contracted amount. And we've also let you include, by the way, all of the, any mileage or depending on where your firm's located, if you have to do any traveling to get here. We are bound by the state of Florida's limits set in the Special District Accountability Act. We put those limitations on here. But the top part of the form would be what would be the contract amount that we intend to pay the contractor. We do have a bottom part of the form, which is a way for you to either disclose or for us to read your proposal and evaluate any costs that may be incurred by the trust to do business with you. This may not be a factor in any of your proposals, but hypothetically, if you said we need a cubicle at the trust and the trust to provide us a computer on site, that may be a cost for us that would be used when we calculate the overall cost of doing business with you. Or if there's some special training that we're required to pay for and give our employees outside of the contract, all of those would be used to factor in the total cost of doing business with your firm as part of this proposal. Again, may not be an issue, but we do reserve the right to look at your proposal and then determine if there's any other additional costs we think we'd incur and include all of that as part of the total evaluation process. Okay. Lastly, I just wanted to point out in the RFP to review the model services contract and attachment 1 and attachment 2, the insurance requirements and the scope of service requirements. I won't go over those in any detail here because they're self-explanatory, but again, would be happy to entertain any questions that you may have later. And we can take some questions and answers now. So I'm okay if you would like to write some questions in the chat, that's fine. Ashley, there's only 3 attendees, live attendees right now. So I'm okay with allowing them to ask verbal questions, knowing that the official answers will be in writing since there's only 3. I don't think we're going to get overwhelmed. The other thing is I'd just like to let you know, I did get written questions already from one prospective firm, and we will respond to those in writing next week, if that's okay. So if you do have a question, if you would use the raise your hand function to raise your hand and let us know, and we will let you in to ask your question. And Ashley, if you would tell me if you see any questions.
None at this time.
Okay. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes and give people a chance to catch their breath and figure out how to use the raise your hand, or you're free to type it in the Q&A as well. And we'll give it, about another 2 minutes. I don't see any, but. We'll just go one more minute. Okay, we have one hand raised, Ashley.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Andrew Furman. I'm a partner with CFLG down in Miami, and thank you so much for your presentation and laying it out so well for us to understand it. I had 2 questions. The first question is, obviously, our firm is based out of Miami, and just wanted to make sure if you guys have any issues with that geography as far as us being down in Miami and you being up there. Is that any kind of concern? I know everything from our perspective, it's not everything can be done remotely. We can come up there. We can also, like you said, we can meet virtually and things like that. So from our perspective, it's all very seamless. We wanted to make sure that before responding, that would be something that you would be okay with.
Yeah, we're looking to work with the best firm we can get. I would just say, make sure you include, there's sections to disclose if we should be concerned. For example, there's a section on risk. I would just make sure that you cover all that in your proposal, and also cover any of the costs based on your distance as well. Those would be, as far as I can tell, those would be some factors that might impact the evaluation, but there's nothing in the RFP that says that someone in Miami can't apply and have a very good chance at competing with everybody else.
Wonderful. Okay, great. And the other thing is do you guys have a specific budget in mind? Like, do you have a certain amount that's budgeted for this service in your current budget, or are you basically looking to see with the firms, whatever it takes is what it takes kind of thing?
Yeah, we're looking for the firms to tell us how much they think it would cost. One of the questions that we'll post the answer to discussed, I think it was some number of transactions and things like that, Todd. And like I said, we'll post all that stuff. Our current budget, our current fee from the clerk of the courts, I'm going to need you to tell me. I think it's $45,000. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And we're just getting started. We're a new organization. So we're in our 2nd year of collecting taxes. So we understand that notwithstanding whatever we tell you on our current transactions, that could go up, and so we recognize that, it's kind of, people say the transactions, we could tell you what we've done, but it might be more in the future. So we're kind of looking for firms to tell us how much they think it would cost, and we'll give you the best information we can to help you estimate it.
Okay, excellent. And the last question I have is that's at year end, obviously with the year end process and everything like that, is working with the auditors to go through the audit process, at year end and everything like that as well. That would also be the expectation of the accounting firm as well, right? Getting everything ready and working with you guys to get that taken care of.
Yes, and
Okay.
Currently Todd does that for us now. In fact, we're finishing up now, aren't we, Todd?
Yeah, it's basically done. It just needs to be scheduled with the trust now when the audit firm's available. For those on the call, Children's Trust has an engagement letter with a local CPA firm called Purvis Gray that's performing the audit. Purvis Gray also does the audit for the county, Alachua County, Florida, and Alachua County Library District. And as part of the current interlocal agreement, between the county and the trust and the clerk's office, if we were overseeing it, we requested it be with the same audit firm. So technically, the Children's Trust going forward wouldn't necessarily have to. I mean, I think they've been pleased with the audit work that Purvis Gray's done, but they wouldn't be bound by that. That's actually something that could be also bid out in the future. To Colin's response, as far as the current budget, he was correct. The current interlocal agreement for the services that the clerk's office provides is $45,000. And part of the ongoing discussions with Colin, it's become clear as they continue to grow, and as my office keeps taking on more and more, out of fairness to him and the trust itself, if we were to continue doing the work, I would have, up to this point, I haven't had to sort of add staff, but I would have had to, and so it would have been more costly in the next round of proposals. And I felt like just from professionalism and efficiencies might be able to be gained by doing one of these RFPs. So that's for those wondering why the clerk's not doing it anymore. It's more of just we're getting to a point size-wise that we would have had to add staffing and grow, and it just didn't seem feasible to pass that along to the trust. So.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time and thank you for your responses. Look forward to responding.
Actually, we'll give it another minute or two to see if anyone else has their hand up. Okay. Well, if there's any more questions, please go ahead and send them to the procurement email address. It's right up here. It's on our website. We'll post all of the answers to the questions, including the ones that were just asked as part of the response. And like I said, we've already gotten one set of questions that we'll post as well next week. So please just check there. And I look forward, hopefully, to getting quite a few proposals. Thank you all for being on this bidders conference, and we look forward to hearing from you real soon.